system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice, united and free. United and free. United and free.
Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Mark Bent, B-E-N-T.
Where do you currently live?
Idaho Falls.
Did you live anywhere else besides Idaho Falls?
Yeah, I lived in Pocatello for a couple months.
Anywhere else?
Yeah, I lived in Hammond for a year and a half.
Where were you born?
Seattle, Washington.
And did you live in Washington
And
then?
hang on, I need you just a little tighter on that mic so we pick up you on the recording system. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Smitsky, we heard that.
Have you lived in Washington as well?
Yeah, Seattle, Washington.
Tell me about your early life. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Burien, Washington. It's a suburb just south of downtown Seattle. Yeah,
Where did you go to school?
I went to high school, or is
Yes, that was start with high school and then we go from
I went to Evergreen High School, Mount Rainier High School, and Highland High School.
there. Did you graduate high school?
No, I got my GED.
Do you have any other education besides high school?
Yes, I have associates in automotive technology.
When did you first start working full time?
Working full time,
Yes.
I believe when I was about 16.
What kind of job? What was your first job?
I was a busser and sizzler.
What about, did you have any other jobs since you were 16?
Since I was 16,
Yes.
yeah, I've had many jobs.
Can you tell us about them?
I mean, I worked as an automotive technician for 20 years. I worked at Firestone, numerous dealerships, Acura, Seattle, Kia, Renton, Washington, independent shops in Seattle area.
So most of your employment was in the automotive industry.
Yes.
So what is your specialty? Do you have like a certificate or specialty?
I'm just AUC master certified. I don't have any specific disciplinary agency.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Yeah, Mr. Bennett,
I'm
just
sorry.
pull the mic closer. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Swinsky.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a half brother and a half sister.
What about do you have your parents?
Yeah, I have with my parents.
And what are their names?
Sarah Bent and William Bent.
Where do they live?
They live in Seattle, Washington.
So when did you come to Idaho?
February 2021.
What brought you here?
I was working at UPS and I was an automotive supervisor in Seattle, and they offered to have me come to Idaho Falls.
So that's UPS.
Yes.
What UPS facility did you work at here in Idaho Falls?
It was the UPS facility on Wardale Street.
How long did you, well, I'll get back to that. When you moved to Idaho, where did you live?
I lived at Eagles Landing Apartments in Hammond
How long have you lived there?
about a year and a half
Where did you move after that?
to Pocatello.
Because that's where you was your house.
Yes.
Outside of your work, what other hobbies, interests do you have?
Well, I'm a car enthusiast, so I like buying vehicles and adding parts to them and increasing their performance. I was a musician. I played guitar, bass guitar, played softball a lot. I was a competition shooter for a little while.
As far as this hobby with automotive, did you have any involvement with any kind of clubs here in Idaho Falls area?
Yes.
What kind of clubs?
Well, when I first moved here, I started going to car meets, and I was introduced to a Facebook page for car enthusiasts around the area. And from there, I met more people and ended up joining an actual car club.
So what would it take to join an actual car club?
I just get to know people at the clubs or at the meets. They would post car meets, and people would just go there and socialize and talk about the cars, and then from there, people get to know each other and invite them to the club.
Oh, are you married?
No,
Do you have any kids?
no,
So when you came to Idaho Falls, you were just by yourself.
yes.
Was getting into these clubs kind of your way of trying to socialize?
Yes.
So which club did you actually join? What's the name of it?
It was called the Castaways Car Club.
And where is it based at?
Well, they usually met in Idaho Falls. That's where most of the members were from. Some of them were from Pocatello, but they generally met in Idaho Falls.
How big is that club as far as the number of people?
At the time, it was only maybe 10 people.
Who was in that club? Can you name the names?
Yeah, Nicholas Bird. He actually started the club. Skylar Smith is his name, Morgan Wellens, Dominique Taylor. That's all I can remember for now.
When did you meet Nicholas Berg first?
I met him at a car meet.
When?
It was around, I want to say April or May 2001 or 2021.
So how was your involvement with this club? How did it progress?
I attended a few meets with them over the course of about a month.
Did anything change later on? Or
Yeah, I eventually left the club.
why did you leave that club?
Well, most of them were younger, and I guess wild, and did things I didn't really want to be involved with.
What kind of things?
Illegal street racing, or did you just say street racing? I don't know laws about it, but some of them were getting like misdemeanor tickets for excessive speeding. One of the members, he was a fugitive from a different state, and so I just didn't want to be. I had a good job. I didn't want to jeopardize it, so I eventually left the club.
And when you say that you left the club, what did you actually do to officially leave the club?
I messaged Lindbergh because he was the leader of it.
What did you say in your message?
I told him that I wanted to leave the club because they were doing illegal activities and argument soon from there.
Did they say anything in regards to that to you?
To me,
Yes.
he tried saying that I was doing illegal stuff to you, and I denied it, and I don't really remember too much after that.
And when you say message, what kind of, I guess, platform did you use to send the messages?
It was Facebook Messenger.
So are you on Facebook then?
I was on Facebook.
And kind of, did you communicate with your Facebook friends using Facebook Messenger?
Yes.
When did you actually leave the club approximately? Do you remember the month and year?
Yeah, I believe it was June 2021.
Is that when you still were working for the EPS?
Yes.
Why, anything else happened after that?
Yeah, so a few days after that, I was removed from the main Facebook group of car enthusiasts. And I messaged the admin, I asked why, and they said that someone told them that I was an undercover police officer, and that's what happened.
What did you do after that?
I asked Nick about it because that was. Sorry about that.
Make sure you talk about that. Go ahead, Mr. Spitsky.
You saying you asked Nick about it
Yes.
and he say anything about that?
He denied having any involvement in it.
Is that in the context of you getting kicked out of the car group?
Of the main page, yes.
After that, have you had any conversations with Nick?
Yeah, we continued to have conversations. I don't remember the full text or content of them, but it was arguing. It wasn't peaceful or anything. It was just back and forth arguing.
Why did you argue?
I mean, I asked him if he knew anything about these rumors, and he said no. And then he said someone received a message that I was working with undercover police from Washington. Just accusations.
Now, at some point, did you contact the police about reporting some kind of phone harassment?
Yeah, so I actually contacted police twice. I contacted them in, I think, June or July of 2021. After I was kicked out for supposedly being an undercover police officer, they found out that it was a lie. It was just a bunch of rumors. But in the short amount of time, people were posting my whereabouts. I was getting threats. I was getting messages from random people in the car community, and I felt that when people were posting were out. For example, I was driving east on Sunnyside one day and someone posted it, and I felt that I was putting my safety in jeopardy, so I called the police.
So when did you call the police first?
It was June or July 2021.
And did you get any response from law enforcement?
No, not really.
What do you mean, not really?
They just said there's nothing they could do about it. Yeah.
So now this harassment, is that when was happening when you were still living in Idaho Falls?
Yes.
So when did you contact the police the second time?
December 2021.
Why did you do that?
Because at that point, people started actually looking up my address and telling me they knew where I lived and saying they were going to come over and harm me.
When was that? How was it done? Was it done in person? Was it done via messaging, phone calls?
Through Facebook Messenger.
And so I guess, did they give you an indication that they knew where you lived?
Yes.
What?
One individual actually told me my address and said, "This is your address, right?" And they said they were going to come over and harm me.
And why would they do that? Or why did did they give you a reason why they wanted to harm you?
It was just a result of a long argument. And it just,
I guess, did it have anything to do with them accusing you of being an undercover police officer?
yes,
Are you an undercover police officer?
no.
Well, has all of that harassment ever stopped?
No.
While you were living in Ammon, did you work in Idaho Falls?
Yes.
Eventually you bought the house in Pocatello.
Yes.
When you bought a house in Pocatello, where was your job?
It was still in Idaho Falls. Yes.
So why did you buy a house a ways out from your work?
So as I was looking in Idaho Falls area, there was a house on Sunnyside that I was looking at. But I was concerned about buying that house because it was on Sunnyside, and Sunnyside is a main road. And I didn't want to see anyone, I didn't want anyone from the cars seeing where I lived. And I told that to my realtor, and so we started looking at houses outside of Idaho Falls.
Now, during that time, how was your health?
Not good.
And this explain what you mean by that.
I was very overweight. I was eating very poorly. I was drinking alcohol regularly. I was smoking a lot of marijuana. I'm just lazy. Yeah, it just generally was not good.
What about your mental health? How was that?
It was also not good.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I was taking antidepressants, but I was drinking. So I had depression, anxiety, paranoia.
And is that the prescription medication? Was it prescription medication for your mental conditions?
Yes.
How long have you had these conditions diagnosed for?
I was diagnosed, well, I mean, I've had mental conditions most of my life and back to when I was an early teen. Yeah, that's.
So when did you move in to your house in Pocatello?
It was early July 8th and 9th, I think, 2022.
What kind of house did you buy? Can you describe the house?
It was a 2-bedroom, 2-garage house. It was built in 2017, I believe.
Did you make any modifications to it?
No,
Did you add anything to it?
no.
What about any kind of, I guess, when you bought that house, did you still have some concerns about your safety?
Yes.
What'd you do to kind of alleviate those concerns?
I bought a camera system. Well, I had Ring doorbell cells, individual cameras that I put up in my apartment in Ammon. After people were saying they were looking at my address and threatening me and saying they're gonna come over, so I put cameras in my apartment. When I moved, I bought an additional camera system. But I had the same cameras from my apartment. I put them up, on windows and in my house on the outside. I never got around to putting the additional cameras. I was only there for 2 months, so.
What kind of vehicle did you have at that time?
The time I lived in the house,
Yes.
I was driving a 2017 Toyota Tacoma.
Did you have a dash cam in your Tacoma?
Yes.
Why did you install it there?
Yes.
Why did you install the dash cam?
For the same reason, just in case I came across anyone from the car scene that was, threatening me. And
Now, when you talk about this, has anyone ever threatened you in person?
no,
Does anyone acknowledge that there was something, some kind of, some threats going on, like in person? Did anyone talk to you about the whole dynamic?
I mean, I talked to a lot of people about it.
Okay. And people from the car scene? Well,
Yeah, car scene, coworkers,
while you were moving out of Idaho Falls, moving to Coachella, have you still had any relationship with, I guess, communication with Mr. McBird?
when I moved into Pocatello.
Yes.
No, we weren't really talking much by then.
Now, at some point, you quit your job at the UPS.
Yes.
Tell me why did you do that?
I was having problems with my manager, and he had other employees and supervisors that were quitting, and the workload was added to me, and mechanics were being fired and quit, so I was actually working on trucks, UPS trucks, while being a supervisor.
So what was your plan after you quit the UPS job?
Just to find another job.
Well, like, where were you looking?
I was looking at automotive repair shops, and they're like Idaho Falls, Blackfoot, Pocatello, anywhere around there.
How many places did you contact to see if you can go on?
I don't remember the number. It was a lot though.
Were you able to find a job?
Eventually, I was communicating with a potential employer towards late August, early September, but I never heard back. So I don't know. I don't know if they ever reached out to me.
So did you quit after buying a house?
It was actually like right around the same time.
And what was your plan as far as like paying the mortgage?
I had some money saved up, and I guess I was overconfident because I've never had a problem finding a job in Seattle.
Have you considered moving back to Seattle?
Yeah.
Or you decided against it? Or?
Yeah, I didn't want to lose my job, even though I quit, but yeah.
So how long was your period of unemployment?
2 months.
So count 2 months, what is going on through your head?
I was severely depressed. I was drinking more, I was smoking a lot more marijuana. I was getting really stressed out because I wasn't really having the greatest luck finding work.
Have you reached out to a doctor, a medical professional to address your mental conditions?
I did.
And what was their?
Yeah, sidebar.
Quick sidebar.
Now let's get into September of 2022. September 3rd, 2022. Tell me about that day. So let's start in the morning. What happened in the morning?
That morning,
Put the tire on my head. Sounds like it's off.
okay, yeah, I think it was off.
All right, go ahead.
So that morning, I woke up at my friend's house. I stayed the night there, and we decided to go look for some off-road trails in Mean Creek area. And so we did that. We drove around Mean Creek. Couldn't really find any trails, and so we took some pictures and just drove around some more, and I dropped them off in Blackfoot.
Okay, what about the afternoon that day?
So that day after I dropped them off, I drove back to Pocatello and stopped by the liquor store in Pocatello and bought a 750 milliliter bottle of Jägermeister. I think it's called a fifth also. I went to Wendy's to get some food, and then I went home.
What time did you get home, Bob?
I think maybe 4 or 5.
Did you do anything else that day?
Yeah, I ate the food I got, and I put the Jägermeister in a bottle and put Rockstar in the bottle to mix it up. And I decided to go to Idaho Falls and got in my truck and left.
And what time did you leave Idaho Falls?
I think it was maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock.
The video, the stage show from the dash cam, was that you driving?
Yes.
Why did you want to go to Idaho Falls?
I was just bored, wanted to drive and listen to music, and yeah.
We saw you on the dash cam. Looks like you drove around the Best Buy area in Idaho Falls, kind of almost like you were driving in circles. Can you tell me, what was the call of you driving around the city?
I was just seeing who was out driving around, and I mean, I knew a lot of people from the car scene, so yeah, I was just driving around.
is that's why some of the places was on the dash cam involved, basically a car meets, got caught. So then, I guess, let's talk about how you ended up here on the west side of the town.
You mean by the airport?
Yes,
So I was driving, and I don't know what the name of the neighborhood is, but the neighborhood where I saw Nick's car. And I was still drinking my Jägermeister Rockstar Nick's drink. And I saw his car and I parked behind it.
and we saw that as well on the dash cam.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And at some point, the dash cam video turns off.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I turned the ignition off.
So basically, the dash cam turns on and the ignition turns on.
Yes.
Okay, what'd you do after you turned the ignition off?
I just sat in my truck. I finished my beverage of Jägermeister, and I was just looking on my phone, and seeing what was going on Facebook.
Did you do anything else?
Yeah, I got out of my truck and I walked around.
And what happened then? What did you do then?
I broke Nick Bird's passenger side mirror.
After you did that, what did you do next?
I just walked around a little more, and then periodically just sit in my truck.
Why did you break his mirror?
Because I was angry at him.
Why were you angry?
Because he threatened me. He looked at my address. He posted my address on the internet. He posted where I worked, where I lived on Facebook pages, national Facebook pages with thousands of members.
Okay, well, what happened then?
Then I saw him in his car, and he started it, and he went to. Actually, he backed up a little, and then he was about to pull out, but he noticed that his mirror was broken.
And then what happened?
He got out and he pulled his phone out and took a picture of it, and he was typing something.
What'd you do next?
Well, I was standing on the passenger side of my truck, and when I saw him, I didn't do anything at first. I didn't really know what to think or do. And when he was posting, he had his phone up and he was typing something. It was like it reminded me of just everything that was going on social media and the threats, the harassment, and the slander and the rumors, and some just took over me, and I remember drawing my gun, and after that I don't remember. I blacked out.
What's the, if any, next memory after that?
My next memory was seeing Nick on the ground, and I panicked, and I left, got my truck, and I drove off.
What was going on through your mind as you were driving off?
I wanted to tell my parents what happened and communicate with them.
Did you call your parents?
No, I sent them a message.
Or did you eventually also talk to your parents?
Yes.
What was your state of mind at that time?
I mean, I was in shock. I wanted to commit suicide. Honestly, I don't know. I was in shock.
And the message, is that the message that was presented by the state?
Yes.
When did you type that message?
I think around July 2022.
Why did you type it?
In the state of mind that I was in, I wanted to address the threat, but I didn't have a plan or know when or how. So I just wrote it to, if it did happen, I could tell my parents.
Now, then did you send another, did you post a Facebook message?
I did.
And when did you type that message up?
It was around the same time.
And the same time meaning September 3rd?
Yes.
And why did you post that message?
Because it happened. The shooting happened. I don't know. Like I said, I was in shock. I had a million things going through my head.
Did you intend to kill Nick Bird?
Not necessarily kill him, but I just wanted to retaliate in response to everything that happened, threats, posting my address and location.
Now, eventually you called 911,
Yes.
and why did you do that?
Why?
Yes.
To turn myself in.
Now, let's talk about what happened after you got arrested. Eventually, you were charged with a crime.
Yes.
Yeah, you were appointed an attorney,
Yes.
and eventually you worked out the plea deal,
Yes.
and you pled guilty pursuant to that plea agreement.
Yes.
And that was done on the record, under oath.
Yes.
And then you asked to withdraw your guilty plea.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I discovered that I didn't receive all of the discovery.
What was that with the previous attorney?
Yes.
But you do realize that when you pled guilty, you did it under oath,
Yes.
and you swore to tell the truth.
Yes.
So why did you then plead guilty?
Because at the time, that was the only option that my public defender gave me. I asked for, I didn't have any faith that he would do me any good in trial. I asked him to put a motion in for a conflict counsel a few months before because he just wasn't putting any effort into defending me, and I reached out to a couple of public or private attorneys, and a lot of them were either too expensive or there was a conflict of interest. So I just kind of gave up, and I just went with his suggestion of pleading guilty.
How do you feel about what happened to Mr. Bird?
I feel horrible. I wish I could go back and things were different.
If you could go back, what would you do different?
I would have got help. I would have got involved with the church and probably Alcoholics Anonymous.
if you could take all of this tragedy back, would you?
Absolutely.
All right. I guess in sequential order, when did you leave the car club?
I believe it was May 2000, oh no, sorry, left, it was around June 2021.
Early summer of the 2021.
Yes.
And then I have the witness handed states, defendant's exhibit D.
B, as in
D is in dog.
I believe it's P.
Oh, is it B?
We have two examples.
I've been misstating that every time.
Alright.
B is in Baker. Does that look familiar?
Yes.
When did you first see that message?
I saw it in, I think December or January, or sorry, December 2021, maybe January 22.
All right, and how did you see it?
Someone showed it to me.
Who showed it to you?
A friend.
You're going to have to be specific, Mr. Van.
I don't want to answer that.
All right, you're saying that somebody got a hold of this message from Zachary Hoven, how you say it?
I believe it's over.
Got a hold of this message from Zachary Hoven and then let you see this conversation?
Yes.
And it was this conversation, all of it.
Yes.
And how did they get it?
Someone sent it to him.
Somebody sent this conversation to him.
Yes.
And you became aware of this conversation when?
December 2021.
December 6th?
No, it was shortly after.
All right. In fact, you went in and you made the report to the sheriff's office, right?
Yes.
And in that one, you weren't even aware that this had been sent, correct?
Not that message, no.
And you had no idea that Nick Bird had said anything about you on that day, right?
No, he did on December, actually the day before that, he said, you live at Eagles Landing's apartments. Well, first he said, I'm gonna come over to your house, and then he corrected himself and said, sorry, apartments, Eagles Landing.
He sent you that message.
Yes.
On December 5th, is that what your testimony is?
Yes.
And you took that as a threat.
Yes.
And yet the next day, when you reported it to the sheriff, you made no mention of it at all.
I don't know if I mentioned Nick Bird or not, but I mentioned.
Would you like to review the report?
Sure.
Okay. Let's have this marked as State's Exhibit 26, 27.
26.
I'm sorry.
26. Okay, you had a chance to review that.
Yes.
Does it accurately depict what you spoke about with Deputy Schwartz?
I believe so.
All right. And, Your Honor, I approve for admission of case exhibit 26.
Mr. Svinsky,
No objections.
exhibit 26 will be admitted.
So, on this particular report, there's a subject, and it says Zachary Corbett Hogan. Do you see any other subject listed on there?
No.
In this report, you told them that you believe that Mr. Hoven had posted a picture of your address on Eagle, Mr. Hoven, right?
Yes.
And also you said potentially there was a maintenance man in your complex that may have given up your address as well,
Yes.
right? So on the day after, no mention of Nicholas Bird at all.
No.
And you also said where you believe Mr. Hogan was, right?
Yes.
Where was that?
He told me he was an admin.
Well, the last paragraph, page 2. And says, I spoke with Bent about me calling Hogan. He said that he did not have a phone or address, but thought Hogan may be living in Montana.
Yeah, his Facebook profile said Montana.
Ben did not have any further information on Hogan. You're shaking your head no. That's,
I didn't have any more information.
where did you tell the officer that you thought he was an admin?
I guess I didn't.
All right, and so if Mr. Hogan was in Montana, but Mr. Bird was here in Idaho Falls, wouldn't Mr. Bird have been the greater threat?
Yes.
Yet you didn't mention him at all, correct?
Correct.
And Deputy Schwartz says what you could do is that you could apply for a civil protective order, right?
Correct.
That was the advice he gave you.
Yes.
I mean, did you file a civil protective order on Mr. Hogan?
No.
Did you file a civil protective order on Mr. Bird?
No.
When was the last time you communicated prior to September of 2022 with Nicholas Bird?
I think it was around June.
And how did you contact him?
I didn't contact him. It was just over Facebook.
Okay, you saw a post over Facebook or you communicated with him?
It was on a post on Facebook.
Okay, you saw Nicholas Bird posted something on Facebook.
I don't know if it was his post, but there was a post and he was conversating in it, and so was I.
Okay. And prior to that then, okay, June of 2022, there was some kind of Facebook post and you both commented on it. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Did he address you in those comments?
Yes.
And what did he say?
I don't remember exactly. He was mocking me.
Mocking.
Yeah, I don't remember his exact words.
And prior to that, when did you have communication with Nicholas Bird?
I mean, I've had communication with him pretty much all prior to that.
And would that have been by phone?
No, it was all over Facebook.
So when you're saying that you had communications with Mr. Bird, did you message him on Facebook?
Our communication was mostly through Messenger.
And how did you message him?
And we messaged each other.
Okay. How did you do that? Did you use a phone? Did you use a laptop?
Phone. Yeah.
You used your phone.
Yes.
Now, the police have a download of your phone,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this Facebook Messenger app on there.
Yes.
And so these communications should be in that app, right?
Yeah, it's in Discovery.
All right. You're saying that there's communication on Facebook Messenger after January 2022.
On Messenger. I don't remember exactly how long that was on, but like I said, it's in the Discovery. For whatever reason, it wasn't presented as evidence.
You're saying that some point after January 2022, which is the testimony that the officer gave, that there should be communication on Facebook Messenger between you and Nicholas Bird?
There's communication.
All right. So, the last communication you remember prior to September then would be June of 2022.
Yes.
And no communication between you and Nick Bird from that point on until September. Is that correct?
Correct.
But in July, you started writing some notes,
Correct.
and that was on your phone.
Yes.
And it included talking about Nick Bird, right?
Yes.
How long had it been since your last conversation with Nick Bird until you started writing those notes on your Apple Notes?
Probably a month.
All right, at least a month. So we had testimony that it was at the last part of July. Do you remember in June when this final communication occurred? Or was it May?
I don't remember.
Okay. So a month went by, no threats, right?
No, there was threats.
From Nick Bird?
Yeah.
And how did these threats get communicated to you?
It's over Facebook.
All right. You're saying that Nick Bird, well, you said the last message from Facebook Messenger was in June, right?
I don't remember. It was over Facebook.
All right. And then you say that there still were threats after the messenger stopped prior to that July of 2022, starting to put notes in your phone. Is that correct?
I don't remember.
Okay. Any threats that would have been made and it wasn't on Messenger would have had to be public, right?
No, not necessarily.
How else would he have communicated with
Private car group Facebook pages.
you? All right. And are you saying that he posted threats about you on these car groups?
Yes.
And what did he threaten you with?
He said he was gonna handle my ass. I mean, just like the message that we put in evidence.
You're saying that he repeated that threat,
Yes.
and that was somewhere on a Facebook post.
Yes.
And that was public, at least in that group, that anybody could have read.
Yes.
But you can't find those.
I I mean, I've been in jail for the last 2 years.
Did you take screen caps of them?
I probably did.
Would have been on your phone?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of this is in discovery.
Well, okay. You're saying that you, on your phone, and you have a full copy of that, right?
Not at the moment,
But you received that?
the discovery.
Yes.
Eventually, yeah,
And you got all these screen caps,
Mhm.
and those would include posts from Facebook where he threatened you.
not all of them, but yes,
All right. And were any of these threats ever face-to-face?
no,
Okay, but did he ever, in any time period, when he was speaking with you face-to-face, make a threat?
No.
Did he ever follow through with any verbal or written threat that he put onto Facebook or anywhere else?
Random people have knocked on my door. I didn't answer. It could have been him. I don't know.
Knocked on your door where?
At my apartment.
All right. So one of the things you were upset about was the fact that he had looked up your address, right?
Correct.
And that was one of the things that frightened you, right?
Yes.
But the fact is that when you moved to Pocatello, that not even your mother and father knew where you were, right?
They knew where I was.
Well then, why would you send them a message on September 3rd asking them to take care of Curtis? Well, who's Curtis?
That's my cat.
And then put, the address to the house is on North Arizona Drive.
Because I just moved there and they didn't have my address yet.
Now, that was the question I just asked Mr. Bennett.
You asked if they knew that I moved. And they knew I bought a house in Pocatello, but I didn't actually give them a physical address yet.
Okay, my question was, your parents didn't even know your address. Are you gonna change your answer now?
I don't recall saying that they didn't.
What is the answer?
They didn't know my address right away. I mean, I didn't give it to them when I moved in. I gave it to them then.
On September 3rd, that was the
Yes.
first time you gave them your address.
I believe so, yeah.
So if your parents didn't even know where you lived, why would you be in any threat?
Because just like this police report says that anyone can look up your information on whitepages.com.
But up to that point, you had no indication that anybody had looked up that address.
Not yet, no.
Okay. If you were in a safe place, in fact, I believe that it was your testimony that you wanted to move to Pocatello because of the safety issues, right?
That was one of the reasons, yes.
Okay. If you moved to Pocatello, then why drive back up to Idaho Falls?
Because that's where I knew most of the people. Most of my friends were in Idaho Falls.
Okay. And so is your testimony today that on September 3rd, when you left your home in Pocatello, your intention was to visit friends?
Yes.
And, okay, did you attempt to call any of your friends?
No.
Did you text any of your friends?
No.
Did you go on Facebook and look to see if there were any car meets?
No, there's always car meets, so. And they're usually in Idaho Falls.
All right. So when you drove into Idaho Falls, was it your intention to try to track down somebody in one of these car meets?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, let's talk about where you drove. You drove to the Best Buy,
Yes.
and then you circled back there a couple more times. Was that because there was a car meet there?
Yes.
You also drove behind, I guess, would be the Buffalo Wild Wings or that area there by the pier. You drove past that area.
Yes.
Why did you drive back there?
That's one of the places that there's car meets.
So you knew there was potentially car meets in that location.
Yes.
How about why did you drive down 17th? I think you probably got as far as Albertsons.
There's car meets in that area too.
You were looking for car meets.
Yes.
Now, in the message that you posted to your friends on Facebook, do you remember saying something about car meets?
I'm sorry, but
Do you remember saying something about car meets or car clubs?
saying something about car meets where,
And Mr. Neal, let me just get to ask you to clarify what message you're referring to. We're all on the same page.
The message that you posted shortly after you shot Nicholas Byrd on Facebook. You posted one. Do you remember what you said about the car clubs?
on the post,
Yes.
I have to read it again.
All right, could I have State's Exhibit? Number 10, exhibit, or it's actually, we'll have to publish it again. So while they're getting that, I'm gonna read a part of that. People kept posting about me on Speed Hunters in a negative way to the point where I started to think about attacking on one of the car meet shows they attend. Did you write that?
I believe so, yeah.
And so on September 3rd, 2022, let's take it step by step. When you left Pocatello, you had a handgun, right?
Yes,
And where was it
it was in my truck
specifically?
on the passenger side.
You didn't put it into a holster?
Not while I was driving, no.
When did you first put it into a holster?
When I got out of my truck,
And where was that?
anytime I got out of my truck,
Okay, on September 3rd, you left Pocatello. When did you first get out of the truck?
when I parked behind Nick's car.
All right. So you're saying that when you stopped behind Nick's car, that's when you put your holster with the gun in it onto your hip, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. There was also another item that was on the driver's seat when they photographed your truck, and that was 2 extra magazines. And it had 2 snaps on it, and it had 2 magazines in it. Do you remember that item?
Yes.
Why was it on your driver's seat?
I thought it was on a different scene. I don't remember
Okay.
where,
You don't remember how it got onto the driver's seat where you were sitting?
No.
And you don't know how the snaps got unsnapped?
I don't remember even having it on.
All right. Did you have it on?
I don't remember.
All right. Possible that you unsnapped it and put it in the driver's seat when you stepped out of your car?
I didn't have it on.
Okay. You gotta be clear here. You need to take more time to answer. You said you didn't remember. Now you're saying you didn't have it on.
I don't recall having it on.
Okay. And you don't know how it got into the driver's seat?
I thought you said it was in the passenger seat.
No, it was in the driver's seat. You don't know how it got into the driver's seat.
I don't.
You weren't driving while you were sitting on it, right?
No,
All right. How many magazines did you have in your car?
I don't remember.
Okay. You've got pictures of it. Was more than one?
Okay.
Was it more than one?
Yes,
Was it more than 2?
I believe so.
More than 4?
I don't think so.
All right. So you're saying it was somewhere between 2 and 4?
Probably 2 and 3.
All right. And how many of them were loaded with bullets?
All of them.
All of them. How many rounds is that total?
I don't know.
Well, let's just take the 3 that you remember. How many did those hold?
I believe 17.
So 17 times 3 is the minimum you had in that vehicle, right?
I believe so.
system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people